Hi guys, welcome to the second episode of this series, which will provide weekly videos of how to play as heroes and villains in Galactic Assault on Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you are enjoying this series so far, please leave me a like and subscribe to see more Battlefront 2 content in the future. Today we'll be looking at Emperor Palpatine, a villain that many players consider to be quite overpowered on this game, and whilst I tend to agree with this, I still think his playstyle takes some getting used to, and in the wrong hands he can die just as easily as any other hero. Emperor Palpatine has access to three unique abilities. Starting with his Dark Aura ability, Palpatine is able to use his mastery of the dark side of the Force to surround himself with powerful Force energy that both damages and disorientates enemies who dare to get too close to Palpatine. Secondly, the Emperor can use a chain lightning attack, which when used not only damages the enemy it is directed towards, but it also bounces to other enemies in close proximity to Palpatine's initial target. Lastly, Palpatine can also use Electrocute, an ability which when activated sees Palpatine send a wave of lightning across the ground, temporarily stunning enemies within the ability's proximity. Palpatine's primary weapon is of course his iconic Force Lightning. This can be used in different ways, and I'll explain it as if you are playing on the PlayStation 4, as I am. You can either push both right trigger and left trigger at the same time, which releases fully powered Force Lightning. This, however, drains Palpatine's stamina quicker. Alternatively, you can just use right trigger or left trigger to release a weaker form of Palpatine's lightning, which as a result drains his stamina at a slower rate. As with other heroes, Palpatine can jump relatively high. He also has a unique and unlimited dash ability, which when used sees Palpatine spin quickly through the air in a forward direction. Remember when he did it on episode 3 upon engaging Mace Windu? Yeah, it's that, and yeah, it's pretty cool. The difference between a good Palpatine player and a poor one, at least in my opinion, lies in the player's awareness of his strengths and weaknesses. The first strength that comes to mind when I play as Palpatine is his unique dash ability. From an offensive point of view, it allows Palpatine to get in range of his foes quickly and often unexpectedly, and from a defensive point of view, Palpatine is able to use his dash to escape from overwhelming situations quickly, thus reducing the potential damage he could take. To further cement the importance of this ability, it is absolutely unlimited. Giving Palpatine excellent speed and mobility at all times, it also makes him a tremendously effective hit-and-run hero. Palpatine's second strength concerns one of his three abilities, namely his chain lightning. I did some testing in arcade mode as I was curious to find out how many targets Palpatine could hit at one time. Astonishingly, I believe this number to be 6, and effectively this means that Palpatine has the potential to kill or damage 6 enemies in one fell swoop, depending on health levels of course. This vastly increases Palpatine's offensive capabilities, and it's one of the reasons you have probably seen so many incredible Palpatine kill streaks. Before we discuss Palpatine's next strength, a quick note on star cards. I don't want to spend too much time on these, primarily because I want to prove that the heroes can be used effectively without the absolute need for them. That being said, sometimes there are exceptions to this, and Palpatine is made much stronger with one particular star card that I would probably recommend before you spend crafting parts on any other star card in the game. This card is called Lightning Absorption, and honestly I can't emphasize enough, you need to get this star card before you consider others. This card gives the Emperor the ability to regenerate his own health. He does this through chain lightning. Essentially every enemy hit restores a small amount of his health, and I can't stress enough how important this is. I wouldn't even consider using Palpatine without it. Although Palpatine is an incredibly effective villain, you do still need to bear some things in mind which can and will cause you a lot of problems, especially when playing against skilled players. Having said that, I only really have one real weakness to report when you are playing as the Emperor. He requires you to play on the edge constantly. If you want to do well with him, you need to constantly ensure that enemies are close enough to you for you to punish them with his primary attack and his basic abilities. Now, for super aggressive and skilled players, this is probably a good thing. However, The problem here is that Palpatine has no way of defending himself from sentry gunners and vanguards in particular. As such, all it takes is one switched on player to flank you and take you out extremely quickly. At least villains such as Vader and Ren can block vanguard shots, however Palpatine has no such ability. This is a huge weakness. I have been killed many times by vanguards, and slowly but surely more and more players are trying to exploit this weakness. As such, his playstyle requires a lot of skill and will take time to get used to. Many newer players will probably be left scratching their heads at how some players manage to go on incredible kill streaks with the Emperor. Some players still consider Palpatine's primary attack to be on the weaker side, even after he received a slight buff. However, I disagree with this. For me, using both hands kills most enemies fast enough, and considering the offensive attributes Palpatine has in the form of Dark Aura and Chain Lightning, I think he's more than powerful enough. I should also probably mention that Palpatine's electrocute ability can often do more damage to yourself than enemies in Galactic Assault, as it has a very long animation that you cannot abort once activated. And in the time you spend trying to stun your opponent, it would be much quicker to just simply kill them. This is a small weakness, but the ability does have some use, which I will discuss later in the video. Now we have considered his strengths and weaknesses, let's turn to the most important part of these videos by discussing how to go about using Palpatine on the battlefront. The first thing you should know is that a good Palpatine player will never stop moving. You should always either be dashing or jumping. The Emperor's movement speed when you're not doing this is pretty pathetic. He hobbles about really slowly, and this will get you killed if you do this when engaging with enemies or fleeing. Remember, this guy is not like Yoda. He is a much bigger target. Just remember to always mash dash. Just keep doing it constantly, and you will make yourself so much more difficult to hit. Now we have mastered the Emperor's movement, let's consider how you should go about engaging enemies. Palpatine is a fantastic hit and run villain. Before turning a corner and facing enemies, activate Dark Aura, dash out, slaughter as many as you can using a combination of primary lightning attack and chain lightning, then get back to cover. The most important part of that sentence is the end. It can be tempting to stand out there trying to destroy everyone in front of you, but if you want to keep your Palpatine, don't do this. Be aggressive, yes, but be sensible. A good Palpatine player will know when to flee. This is particularly important considering that Palpatine cannot block blaster fire. You will get a lot of assists, which I know really bothers some people. I'm not one of these people, but if you are, just remember to stay patient. You will have lots of killing opportunities as the Emperor, but only if he's alive. From a team perspective, Palpatine is an excellent villain for clearing out checkpoints that have been locked down by enemies. Many checkpoints in Galactic Assault will require defenders to group together to retain control over specific areas, or if not, they will usually be expected to enter small spaces to complete specific objectives. This is where a good Palpatine player will excel. His Dark Aura will slowly damage and disorientate lots of players in these small places, making these players easy kills for your teammates. His Chain Lightning will also allow you to damage multiple enemies at once, and as such, Palpatine is a fantastic villain for attacking objectives. What I would emphasise here, in order to overcome his greatest weakness, is to try and stay in close proximity to your teammates. The reason is that the best defense against vanguards comes from the cover that your teammates can provide you with, especially if you fail to spot an enemy that is trying to flank you. If you are out there on your own, you are at risk of getting taken out quickly. Palpatine is very well equipped when it comes to fighting other heroes. Whilst it is still best to make sure you have your teammates helping you when you do this, I find him to be very effective against lightsaber wielding heroes in particular. Whilst they are out of range, he can deal damage with his lightning, chain lightning and dark aura, and if they get too close, he is agile enough to dash away quickly. This is also where his electrocute ability can come into play. If timed correctly, this will completely stun a hero, and if your teammates are with you, that hero is as good as dead. But please only ever use this on heroes, and only if you are sure it will work. I don't necessarily recommend you go looking for heroes, but I do recommend engaging with them if they come looking for you. Having said that, there are some heroes that you should avoid. Chewie can stun you with his shock grenade, and if he does this, you will die. Believe me, I've been there. Finn's Deadeye ability can also finish you in seconds. If you see him, go the other way. Your lightning attacks are no match for him. Rey's mind trick can also be frustrating, but just remember, all this does is invert your controls, so keep dashing forward by holding it backwards and you should still be able to get away. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and you found it useful. Again, I'm keen to hear what other people think. Maybe you disagree with something I've said, or perhaps you think there's something I've missed that's very useful when playing as Emperor Palpatine. My next video is going to be a guide on how to use Chewie. However, after that I am open to hearing other people's thoughts, as I said last week. If you've got any particular preference, please leave me a comment and let me know. Please also leave a like if you have enjoyed today's video, and subscribe to see more Star Wars Battlefront 2 content in the future.
Dark shadows.
All exits secure. Advance and destroy any remaining resistance forces.